it's project time. This one's probably 16 years in the making. Let me start at the beginning. So, many years ago, I built this boat. It's 5 feet by 2 feet. It's got really thin plywood in the bottom, regular 3/4 thickness on the sides. Now back in the day, it had this trolling motor foot mounted on it with a 1-inch, those are trailer wheel bearings that I welded up and made cups for. I didn't even know what a pillow block bearing was back then. You gotta do what you gotta do. And what it had was a deep cycle battery in here. On top of here, it had a servo and a light switch. Servo would work the light switch, would turn the motor on and off. I just left it on high. I isolated these wires, found out which one was the ground, found out which one was hot or high, because one's slow, medium, and go fast. And I took it to a friend of mine's pond, and we run it across the pond, and it worked pretty good. But 16 years ago, I was pretty poor. And I think the battery was borrowed, and I think I spent all my money on the controller and the servos. And I lost interest, and it never even did steer. I never even put I could turn this shaft pretty easy with a servo, but I never did do that. But I've been thinking, and this project, it's been in my head for about a week now. Now look, this boat, I got look, here's the deal. I want to build a stuffing box right here, run a shaft out the bottom. The shaft may have already been bought yesterday, and some bearings left over from the golf cart project may already exist. Anyway, I'd like to put a Predator 212 in here with a rudder and just see how fast a 2 foot by 5 foot boat can go with 6.5 horsepower. That's not what we're doing today. That's an expensive project, and this is a cheap project. By the way, sponsored by my checking account. So, as you know, we got the pumpkin pump. The pumpkin pump has been fantastic. Well, you know when you're watering something even out of a garden hose, it pushes back. You know, the old cartoons, you see three guys on a fire hose, because otherwise the fire hose, a friend of mine tells me that that's nozzle, what is that called? The pressure back's got a name. Nozzle resistance, or I don't know. Sorry, Corey, I should have been paying more attention when we were talking about that. Anyhow, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my pump. I'm going to set my pump in there. The suction side right here. I'm going to come out, come through the back of the boat, turn down with one of those elbows, and we're gonna pick up water from right in this area. This is just here so that y'all can see the other project. And this may go back on it, because let's face it, a whole battery's worth, this thing would go forever, and it wouldn't be using my pump. Anyway, I don't know. Too much stuff floating around up here. So anyway, come out of the back of the boat right here with a 2-inch piece of pipe, turn straight down, and we could pull water. We could pull water from right here in this area. That one, come out right here over top of that one, drop down with an elbow, turn out with an elbow, reduce the 2-inch down to 1.5 inches to give us more pressure out the back. I'm 100% sure that it will propel the boat forward. I just don't know how fast. But I already got the boat. You could build that boat for, I mean, it's even fiberglassed on the inside. You could build this boat for probably, fiberglass and all, $45, $50, even nowadays. But I built it way back when. It's just been sitting out in the shed for many years. Already got the pump. Look, y'all, I already got glue. I think I spent $12 to $15 on fittings, and I did buy 2 servos to go with my old controller. I hope she didn't hear that. But they were only like $15. So it's like a $30 project, and we're going to see what happens. And there's a time lapse of the whole thing. So check it out. Alright, I just brought my son in here and showed him my latest project. And I quote, "That is the most redneck thing I have ever seen." Well, thank you, son. Alright, here it is. Ta-da! Alright, so, look, the motor's just sitting in there. It's not mounted. I realize that there's a lot of weight on this side. All we gotta do is counterbalance it on this side. Look, there's gonna be a lot of testing and tuning and trying to figure this out. And that's what part 2s are for. Alright, so this is the suction line right. Oh, another thing. The way these things are on there, once I glue them, to get all of this off, all I gotta do is spin them off. As long as I take this one off first, all I gotta do is spin them off, and I can use my pump for anything I need to use it for. So, okay. Suction side right here. Now this pipe could always be trimmed and refabricated, but that will allow it to get plenty of water. Now look, over at the farm, when I was watering pumpkins, I was pulling through 20 feet of 2-foot pipe, and probably vertical 12 feet most of the time to water pumpkins. And then I was pushing water out through either 50 feet of 1.5-inch hose or 100 feet of 1.5-inch hose to water pumpkins. And I still had a tremendous amount of flow. Well, water's very, very heavy. So all of that weight of water going through all that pipe really cuts your volume down. This is not much pipe. This is going to probably pump 145, 50 gallons a minute. I think the pump itself is 158 a minute with no resistance. We got very little resistance. So, what needs to be done next? Well, I got to make sure it floats. Okay, I told you that this boat is very, very old, and there's pieces of it that are coming apart. So, I may have to do some fiberglassing. I don't know how much. I got some more of that thin plywood. I could put another layer on the bottom. We'll worry about that later. It's got to have some sort of a collar right here that will allow it to turn, and I'll have to mount a servo somewhere and be able to turn the collar, or a rudder back here. I don't know. We got to see how it runs and propels it. So, the throttle is right here. Right now there's a nut right here that's really, really tight. I'll loosen that up, and I'll have to put a board here and put a servo on to work that. But we're well on our way to have a radio-controlled Predator 212 powered jet boat. Now look, this is just for fun. My pump someday has to go back and water pumpkins next year, or this year, but next growing season. Like I said, I may put the electric motor back on it now that I'm a little older and smarter and know how to do more things. But sooner or later, this boat is getting a Predator 212 run to a shaft out to that orange prop that's in the time lapse. If that interests you, I suggest you hit that subscribe button, because that's going to happen one day. I mean, I got 3 Predator 212s, and I got to buy another one for my tiller. So, one of the 3 is going to end up on this boat, pushing it down the river at some point. Anyway, I'm Chris from Key Farm. This is part 1. I don't know when part 2 is coming. Just keep a lookout. Harley's going to pop up. That's how you subscribe. There's other videos around here. If the title brought you in, I put a Predator 212 on a golf cart. If you like this, you'd be all into that. Check that video out. Love God, love people, and we're out till next time. Bye.